Aw.
All right, welcome everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer, and this is your Saturday show where we talk about things that are happening in the tech industry, and we open the phone lines to you all program long. So if you have something you want to share, questions you want to ask, comments you want to make, feel free, 330-729-9977, or you can text me at 333-1570, and I will be checking those text messages all program long today. Again, that text number is 330-333-1570. I keep that number in my phone because when I'm driving around and I'm listening to the political guys during the week, sometimes I'll get riled up and I don't have enough time to call, but it's cool that I can, throw out my little grenades as the show goes on. And some of them read them, some of them don't. But I'll tell you this, we'll go through those text messages all program long. And if you have something to share, I'll be sure to share your comments on the air. Real quick, and then this is sort of like second half of the show. We're going to have an interview. We're going to do some business stuff. But right off the get-go, I wanted to kind of share some shower thoughts. Shower thoughts are, you're in the shower thinking these deep philosophical things, and come up with some of my best ideas there. So this one is, we went last week into the topic of SpaceX, and they're creating these rockets that are for transport to take people to different places around interplanetary, just into upper Earth orbit, into where the International Space Station is. So you've got transportation really underway now, where the private sector has kind of taken this, figured out a way to be able to finance it using satellite deployments and other technologies that they're putting into space. And so, when people like us, when we're looking like, what's next, like what's going to come after this part, they're putting a bunch of GPS and cellular satellite or Wi-Fi satellites in low Earth orbit. And they're going to have these things where rather than erecting all of these cell towers to get your data, there's going to be satellites pointing downward, which means that we can hit more area of the globe without, building all of these towers. So that's definitely next. And when I'm thinking just as an individual, I'm thinking, okay, not much I can do with that. It would be cool to be able to use the technology once it's there, but, I'm not going to sling any technology up there or ask SpaceX to put any special chips on there for me. So I'm constantly in the pursuit of looking for when entrepreneurs and just individuals can start capitalizing on the technology and doing something with it. And when we're in this cycle where there's really big ideas, there's not much people like you and I can do except for watch in awe of it happening before us. But a couple times on this program throughout the last years, somebody's asked about space mining. And, at the time, you kind of laugh it off because it's not that it's not possible, but, we can't even really put normal people into space. Like it's a tough pursuit already, and it's expensive pursuit. So mining, even if you could get a whole bunch of elements that are floating around on asteroids, riding around on meteors that are going around our solar system, just the cost of being able to get there would make whatever you were able to harvest almost not worth it. But then, I'm thinking. And, in the beginning, LCD TVs were $10,000. And then as those people, the first couple people bought them in the first round and the second round, and as more people purchased them, the research and development costs started coming out of that. So in the first couple rounds of these space explorations, of these people launches, are going to be fairly expensive and not something that you or I can do anything with. But I think as it becomes commonplace, we have three companies that are vying for space travel. They're three really well-funded companies that are actively pursuing the technology to take people and to deliver them space. Now, we start thinking about, repopulating Mars. What is the economic utility in taking product to Mars? Well, it's a challenge, and it's one of, it's a surface that represents possibility. We could go there. We could create atmosphere there. We could build underground cities there. There is water there. I mean, if anywhere you could probably do something with, Mars is pretty good candidate. Now, there's a huge challenges in Mars. And so where Mars might not be the entirety of this, we started talking about this mining thing. And just let me put this out there. I mean, it's far-fetched, I know, but it's still going to be more possible. And I make this analogous with the prospectors, where out in California, we were rich in minerals that it was unexplored. So everybody and their mom jumped on a wagon and went there and tried to get rich off of the gold rush, the silver rush of the 1700s. And so almost like you can't just hitch a wagon and go up to let me bring it back a little bit. So what they're thinking about space mining is that you go up into space and you wait for one of these rocks to get close enough to you, and you make you let it come to you, or you go to it. You go, you pace its speed. You make a landing, and you sort of guide this thing flowing through space and lasso it, harness it, and then bring it close to Earth. You don't actually bring it to Earth, but you lasso it and get control of its trajectory, and you bring it so that maybe you bring it into an Earth orbit, and so you have this massive rock. Now, what they're saying with these things is that, there are elements that are really expensive here on Earth, and I'm talking expense in money and expense in the pollutions and the risk that it takes to unearth it. I mean, China's real big about these rare earth elements that we use in all of our electronics and batteries, and it's extremely tough to get to, and they basically sit on all of it. And so we a lot of what we do with our trade with China is predicated on, if we don't make nice, then a lot of our electronics really are held hostage by the limited resources that are scattered across the continents. So this opens up that if we're able to go into space, we're able to grab elements from meteorites and asteroids and take some of those metals. Now, I'm looking at some of these elements, and some of them are so rare and expensive. If you look at the periodic table and you look at some elements, there's some stuff that are in the trillions of dollars per gram, which means that we probably have not tried to include them in any of our technology just because of how scarce they are. So if we go into space mining, we can get the traditional stuff, like I'm sure all the metals and stuff like that, but we might be able to harness some of these exotics. Now, I brought this up as in, there are going to be prospectors who can hitch a ride on these, people missions where people get to go out in space, and we can start to at least picture ourselves how we would get people with the ability to start mining off elements and getting them to, because I could picture it like we have a space station, not the scientific research space station that we have right now, but one for sort of like goods transport, where it's a dry dock where we use one ship to bring people up and then bring goods back down. And then we have another dock that people go back out into space and then come back. So you've got this port where you can start exchanging goods that you harvest from close enough regions of space. And, if you just look, like I said, go to the periodic table and look at some of these elements and how scarce and valuable they are. And then you can start looking at, and there's people that do this, that actually take rocks that are close enough to our orbit to be able to harvest down, and they've evaluated their composition to see how much they're worth from a mining standpoint. So then all you basically do is you take the cost of exploration, just like anything else, and you take the cost of materials that you harvest down. And if the one number is bigger than the other, then it becomes a pretty good candidate, or at least a good risk to be able to take. So when you start contemplating what the next resource is, I mean, you think what gets opened up, different technology. Basically, if we're able to add a really scarce element to our arsenal, that then becomes plentiful, and the stuff that is, someone's got a lock on in China, we might be able to get from space. Because I'm telling you, the vastness that we're talking about here with space is there is so much availability, so much of this stuff that we need is out there. So I would probably start getting familiar with what we already know about what's already in our solar system, because they're making rounds just like all the other planets. They make regular routine visits close enough to telescopes and us to look at, and take a look at the schedule and see which one's going to be appearing close to us next, and then look at the elements that are going to be on board, and then start calculating that out. I could really foresee in the future us having just like we have gas and oil and miners here on terrestrial, on the ground here. That's, we have astronauts / miners that go up there, just like Armageddon. Oh, no, it wasn't Armageddon. What the heck was that? Yeah, maybe it was Armageddon, where the miners go up there and they go up there to break up an asteroid that's got a collision course on Earth. But this could very well be something that we could get some valuable stuff. And, and again, the thoughts just kept coming out here when I was doing the shower scene here. Anyway, I was thinking, like, what happens if we grab a big rock that is made entirely of gold, and gold is so precious here because it's so it's so valuable and so it's not scarce, but it's scarce to the point where it's very it's very valuable in our culture. What happens if we get a rock that's entirely of gold, which basically uproots the value of gold and makes it so plentiful? So I started picturing, like, when we start exchanging with, alien life, and if you had an alien world that was going from planet to planet looking for resources that have run out, they might have an element that, like, let's just say sand was the most valuable thing on their world. And right now we put it in bags and we, use it to stop up water, and it's not valuable because it's so plentiful. So all of these worlds, and it really lends itself to be that there's probably what we have limited of. There's some planets or debris in space that's very plentiful and stuff that we, could be game changers down here. So when you start picturing out, when you were young and you were thinking about space travels, it was going to be a select few people that were just astronauts. We were going to watch vicariously through these people. I could really see mass transport, lots of people making regular trips to space for commerce. Not just scientists that go to Mars to try to, to create a population or create an environment. But either way, I mean, even if it's all commerce, if it's stuff like that, it's still super interesting because it's what we hoped when we were young and imagined what it would be like if it's starting to come to fruition. And there are lots of criticisms that we have. I mean, whenever you do something crazy, even when I talk like this on the air, it sounds pretty crazy. But I've always been sort of like on the fringes of what's going to happen next, and I have to picture where all these people are going. So it's not too hard to take guesses about what's going to happen next when you see the people and where they're putting their money. And I look at SpaceX. So they're putting money, and they got this transport thing. So what's next? They build this gargantuan rocket. Right. So would you build a rocket that cost a ton of money if you couldn't figure a picture in the future where you could use that rocket to do something? So if they're willing to put up the resources to build a rocket, you better be sure that you should be sure that they've got something in mind. And I want to make sure that when we do space exploration, it's the little entrepreneur and the masterminds that are behind this. I don't want it to be just big companies who are just going out there and we just get to watch them. I really like the fact that if SpaceX could just be a transportation company and they're not interested in doing the whole mining themselves and inhabiting Mars themselves and all of the science that's after that, I'd really like to be broken up and give another person a chance to do the other leg of it and another person a chance to do the other leg of it. If one thing that we've learned over the last decade is that when all of this power consolidates with the Amazons and the Facebooks and the Googles and they get super big, we sort of lose our abilities, right, as individuals, because we're giving them so much power. We become slaves and dependent to these big companies who have so much control over us. Now, they haven't done it yet. Amazon, you can get stuff cheaper than you used to be able to get them to. What happens when Amazon puts everybody out of business, right? There's no more retail. There's no more competition. They're it, right? Then how do you set your prices? Well, they don't have to be low anymore because everybody who's lower than them have been either bought by them or put out by them. So that's why, again, that when we start thinking about this, there's some scary elements where we have to protect our retail side and we have to buy local and we have to keep our fellow man with jobs and stuff like that, not just buying for the lowest price. So that's the preventative defense side. And then the other side of it is, we've got the chance to say, I want to be a space explorer that goes to an asteroid and mines back materials to send back home to sell on the open market, right? That's not preventative. That is, let's put up some risk and get good at something. I mean, what makes you prepared to be an astronaut? I mean, you got to know lots of sciences. You got to be in super good health. You got to have a good understanding of, stuff outside this planet. So the studies and the colleges and the high schools, if they want to get people, digging this and into it, it's got to become commonplace where we get excited, just as excited in the 60s and when they were shooting off rockets all the time and they were pushing the envelope. We got to get excited as a populace so that we support space exploration as fervently as we did in the past. And that's what I'm hopeful for. And that's why every couple weeks we get to watch a rocket shoot off from either Texas or Florida. All right, we're going to take your calls, 330-729-9977. You can also text me at 330-333-1570. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Stories you're thinking about.
Improve border security.
There's more people than ever coming.
It's a humanitarian crisis. Crime.
Because I am a mom, too.
Check in for this story and more.
It's important to know the facts.
The news stories are on 570 WKBN. One for podcasts, Bear and a Banjo.
Bear and Banjo, the two most important musicians of the 20th century.
A podcast narrated by Dennis Quaid, featuring new music produced by T-Bone Burnett, written by Jared Gusted and Grammy-winning songwriter Pooh Bear Boyd, with a new song featuring original lyrics by Bob Dylan.
When it comes to your identity and the personal information on your devices, there's no soundtrack to let you know you're in danger. Today's digital world is so connected, it just takes one weak link for criminals to get in. Good thing LifeLock includes the power of Norton Security. LifeLock uses proprietary technology to help detect threats like your personal info for sale on the dark web. And Norton Security helps protect up to 5 devices from ransomware and other online threats. Plus, if you have a problem, our agents will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or cybercrime or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but with LifeLock, we can help alert you to danger. Act now and for a limited time, get 30% off your first year. Go to LifeLock.com and enter promo code NEWS. That's promo code NEWS for 30% off. Offer expires October 6th, so don't wait. LifeLock with Norton. More detection, more protection.
Need a Rhino spray-in bed liner or wheels and a lift kit? Check out CanfieldRhino.com in Canfield, Ohio.
Why do I get my flu shot at Giant Eagle Pharmacy every year? Because up to 1 in 5 people will suffer with the flu this season. And staying healthy is very important. Because I'm not just a wife or a mom, I'm also a Giant Eagle pharmacist that cares for you and our community.
Count on your neighborhood Giant Eagle pharmacist for your flu shot this season and earn $5 in free groceries. Giant Eagle Pharmacy, your trusted pharmacy for over 30 years. Certain restrictions apply. See pharmacy for details.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer. And somebody said during the break there, somebody sent me and thanks for everybody who's listening out there on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, all of those streaming services. Welcome to the program, and you guys can actually see a video stream if you check out the Youngstown Computer Show on Facebook or any of those other places. You can search for us. And somebody sent me a link that to flying cars in Utah. Officials are now planning for their arrival. And so even Elon Musk a while ago really predicted that, we've sort of pushed cars on the highway plane as much as we could. And now we're talking about dimensional pushing, where you have the dimension below the highway and a dimension above the highway. And so his first start was to build tunnels underneath the road. So you still have this highway where you have full control and you have to do the speed limits and whatever. And then the tunnels are made to be more like personal trains, where you get put in a tunnel and your car just takes off because it's a single lane that shoots like through a barrel of a gun. And people like the fact that the car's doing most of the work, and it gets to go super fast, and you don't have to contend with other people all that much. It's pretty, you in the tunnel kind of a thing. And now you're a little bit more limited, but what that does is if let's just say you had a big city and you had an airport, and out of the airport you had a bus terminal, right? So you took one of these, bad example, but let's just say you had a point of interest outside of the airport. Well, we'll use Orlando. So Orlando, and you have a tunnel that goes to Disney, right? So people get off the airplane and they jump into the Tesla tunnel, where the Tesla tunnel could take them out to, a little 45-minute jaunt down the tunnel, and then the car, returns itself with another passenger back to the airport. So rather than having just a train that runs on a schedule, each one of these Tesla cars is a little bullet that you can pack a person in and send them down the train, and they all run at 140 miles an hour, 160 miles an hour plus, much faster way to get from point A to point B. And maybe it takes some pressure off of, the gridlock that we have in some of these, more urban areas and more densely populated areas. So it might be something, something to look at. So flying cars is the other dimension, where rather than being below, then you have these flying cars. Now, flight is a little bit more difficult because we already sort of have, our plan with planes is putting way far away from people, because if done wrong, they can drop out of the sky and they can kill everybody, right? So when you start having personal vehicles, we sort of already have personal vehicles. We have helicopters and planes, and it's hard to be able to get to be a driver of one of these things because you can do lots of damage. So if they can figure out a way to do sort of like controlled transport, but have it be above where cars are, so let's just say using magnets, where a car has to stay on a magnetic track that just happens to be 30 feet above where the road is. Now, that would be acceptable because you don't have this flight thing where you have people that can take their thing all over the place. That's the real danger, is that when you have a flying car that looks like a cross between a drone and a helicopter, then somebody has to be really smart behind the wheel, and it's not going to be a commonplace type of vehicle. Maybe when autonomous stuff comes around, where vehicles drive themselves and they follow traffic patterns that are programmed into them, airplanes are going to do that, semi-trucks are going to do that, then maybe everybody gets their little, bullet flight, bullet helicopter drone, and then same thing, you hit it and it takes off, it follows a path and pattern, it avoids other things, and, goes as fast as you want to do because you're not steering the thing. There's a lot of these things that are in our control right now that I don't see maybe in the next 10 years or 15 years that they're going to be. And you can see trains being autonomous, semi-trucks being autonomous, even delivery vehicles being autonomous. And so you can really see some of these things being given their own lanes of transport. They don't really necessarily have to be on regular highways. You can put them through the same tunnels that the Tesla cars do because they're computer controlled and it doesn't take a driver. And they don't have to contend with the traffic because, think about it. Most of those guys are, when they're going long distances, they're not stopping regularly. Especially if it's computer generated, they're not stopping as regular as, local traffic that's, cars are getting off every exit and whatnot. So again, lots of stuff on the horizon with that. So thanks for the article. I could see flying cars coming, but the sort of the stuff that I've seen is just really preliminary. I really couldn't see it as a contender just yet, just because designs are not feeling like they're a car that happens to fly. It looks like more like a helicopter, and we already have those. So thanks for that article. Appreciate it. And a little Minority Report comes to mind. I would prefer mass transit doing the magnet driving instead of individuals. That's a good comment as well. So thanks, Melissa. Appreciate you being out there and listening. 330-729-9977. Larry, I see you out there. I'll come back to you as soon as we get back from this break, and I'll read any text messages that have come in over the first at the first segment. So stay tuned. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be right back.
Folks who suffer from arthritis, back pain, knee pain, bursitis, or fibromyalgia, learn about targeted pain relief in just 15 minutes. Listen to Discoveries in Health this Sunday morning at 8:30, right here on News Radio 570 WKBN.
Here's some of the stories we're working on today. The former owner of Breaking Point Recovery Center in Austintown has pleaded guilty to charges in a healthcare fraud case. 27-year-old Christopher Brown of North 4 Mile Run Road pleaded not guilty Thursday at Warren Municipal Court on charges of aggravated robbery. A 25-year-old Youngstown man faces attempted murder and felonious assault charges after being indicted by a Mahoning County grand jury. 2 separate house fires are under investigation today, one on Dearborn Street off Gypsy Lane, the other one on the east side on Craigley Avenue. A former Hermitage doctor convicted of molesting 2 young boys failed to show up yesterday for his sentencing hearing. About 1,800 people were without power last night after a tree fell on lines in the area of Glenwood Avenue and Southwoods. And publisher Charles Jarvis of the Tribune Chronicle and the Vindicator edition says there's still some bumps in the road with delivery. More on these stories coming up at the top of the hour. From the Power Chevrolet Buick GMC of Calcutta, Ohio newsroom, I'm Dave Price.
Our next update at 2. From the O'Charley's Digital Studios. $9.99 menu, 9 great meals, 1 great price. O'Charley's.
Don't be left out in the cold this winter. Call Mazza Heating in Girard, your factory authorized Bryant dealer.
Expect a seasonal Saturday with temperatures in the mid-60s and plenty of sunshine. Don't forget your sunglasses. Increasing clouds tonight, not as cool, low in the mid-50s. In the Storm Team 27 Weather Center, I'm Jim Lowboy.
There's something to discover in every season at Mill Creek Metro Parks. Hit the trails and watch the leaves change in fall. Learn something new at a park education class. Experience the rush of Sled Hill at Wick Recreation Area after a big snowfall. Or test your skill at Mill Creek's award-winning golf course when the weather breaks. Explore unique event settings to host your guests in one of the park's distinct rental facilities. Whatever the season or weather, there's always something to discover at Mill Creek Metro Parks. Plan your visit today at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Hey, it's Ron Verp for Nature Stone. When it comes to your garage, you need Nature Stone. Nature Stone eliminates puddling, standing water. Paint does not. Nature Stone covers cracked, uneven concrete. Paint does not. Nature Stone eliminates slipping and tripping hazards. Paint does not. Nature Stone reduces tract and dirt, eliminates salt damage and surface deterioration. Paint does not. Get Nature Stone installed in your home by the end of October. Get up to half off. And Russ and Mike gave me a special deal. If you buy today and have your floor installed in October, you'll receive an additional $250 off. Get to naturestone.com right now.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then go to Babbel.com, download the app, and try it for free. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just go to Babbel.com and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or go to Babbel.com and try it for free. That's BABBEL.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer, and we're talking about things in tech, talk a little bit about space exploration and science. We had some text messages calling. We had text messages come in, and we have a call coming in. So let me go to Larry next. Larry, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Yeah, good afternoon, Joe.
Hi.
I got a problem a few weeks back. We had those lightning strikes here, and unfortunately, a power outage took out both of my DVRs. And both of them have hard drives in them, okay? Obviously, I got the hard drives out. Now, how can I access the information on these hard drives?
Well, some of the DVRs use sort of like a proprietary file format because basically they take a bunch of video streams and they combine them together. So it's not going to be your traditional file system. You can try to put them in an external, like a case, an enclosure, and see if it's readable. If it's not, you're probably going to have to resurrect. The device, either replace the power supply in the device in order to get the stuff off of there. Like I said, some of them are directly like MPEG-4s, and you could just pull them off of there, and you got full video feed. So it all depends on the brand.
Okay, well, it's a Magnavox Philips. I don't know whether someone repairs those in this area, but apparently that's been a common problem is the power units go out on these things anytime that there's like a power outage. Now, what is this enclosure? Is there like a model number? Can I get them? Where can I get this?
Yeah, if you just go on to Newegg or Amazon, one of the electronics sellers, look for hard drive enclosure. And so basically what it does is it comes with a USB cable, and it also comes with a little power brick. And all you do is you slide the hard drive into the enclosure, and then it has a little controller board that reads the hard drive like your computer would, and then you just plug it into the computer, and the computer sees it like it was an external drive. So you're basically building an external drive is what you're doing.
Okay. An idea of how expensive?
You could probably get away with a $35 one. I wouldn't go too much. They have cheaper ones than that, but I wouldn't go too much cheaper because when you plug into these things, I fear that that controller does a good job hosting the drive, and I don't want to get too cheap because I don't want to fry out the drive.
Right. Now, my last question. Now, both hard drives are in different sizes, dimension-wise, and they have a different amount of pins on them. So would I have to, will one enclosure work on both drives, or do I have to buy a specific enclosure for each hard drive?
Yeah, each enclosure is going to have its own pin configuration. So you're going to have like the flat ones are going to be, that's going to be SATA. And then the ones that actually have protruding pins out of it, that's going to be IDE. So you're going to want to have an IDE enclosure and also a SATA enclosure.
Okay, great. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
Appreciate the info.
Absolutely. Thanks for being out there. Appreciate it. And honestly, if any of you, it's a real good way to, let's just say you get a new computer and you still have an old computer. You can take your old computer's hard drive and put it in an enclosure, especially if it's pretty sizable. If you've got a 2 terabyte drive or something like that off of an old computer, you can create your own external drive, and you can use it to transfer the data to your new computer. So if any of you DIY people out there who like to do this kind of stuff themselves, it's a pretty good way of doing it. A couple of the companies, I believe Western Digital has one, Ultra has one. Pretty much all the normal brands will have these hard drive enclosures, and that's essentially what you're doing is doing building your own external hard drive. Now they also have docks, where it's basically a slot that you put the hard drive in, and then you can use it to clone drives and copy data and stuff like that. A little bit more sensitive. You got to be a little bit more careful on those, so I don't necessarily recommend them as much because anytime you have electronics that are exposed to the outside, you risk having damage. Now, our benches, we use those docks too. A little bit pricier. I think they're more like the $65, $70 range, but they're pretty good and dependable. A couple text messages. So somebody's asking about antivirus. So I want to give you my spiel on how you make selection on what antiviruses that you use. So let me bring you up to speed on where we're at with Windows 10. So if you've had a computer for the last decade, you know that viruses were a big deal, where viruses could really mess with system files. It can destroy things. It can hijack your documents. It can make changes to the computer, make pop-ups happen. All of these really rogue things can happen when a virus would get on your system. Now, with Windows 10, they really, really did a good job at defending the operating system, locking the operating system down. So viruses really have a much more difficult time doing what viruses used to do. Now, because that option is pretty nailed down, now the two that we see most often. I'm going to tell you, we started this company, and at the time, we were doing about 95% viruses and spyware cleanup. 95% of everybody that walked through our door, commercial, residential, the whole thing, operationally was about 95%. Now it's about 10%. 10% somebody gets affected. In fact, now it used to be I could sit down in front of any computer and there was some kind of infection. Maybe not real bad infections, but there was some kind of infection. It's just not the case anymore. Microsoft did a really good job of either making the operating system already defending itself, or with the security essentials or the built-in antivirus, that it does a pretty good job at defending itself. So what we see more than not is we see some malware. And this is an operating system. This is more like, your browser gets hijacked with an add-on that pops something up. It's not affecting the system. It's affecting it's making an application run funky. So malware is still a pretty big thing, and a lot of times you know they'll put an ad on like making coupons happen and scanning for best deals and stuff, all that kind of stuff, or mapping software, and it'll alter the way that your browsers are functioning, but doesn't have access to the operating system anymore. So it's way easier to clean up now, and so where you want to have something that's going to do a pretty good job of defending against malware. And those stupid encryption viruses, those are still really plentiful, and they're affecting a lot of people, and they're very damaging. And usually how they come in is you get an email, and there's an attachment that looks like a PDF or a document, and as soon as you run it, all it does is start scanning files and encrypting them, holding them hostage, and making you pay in Bitcoin to be able to get them back. And those are terrible. We've just, they're hitting everybody so prevalent, and the software isn't really good about defending against it. Because think about it. I mean, on your computer, you could grab WinZip, grab a file, and you encrypt the file, so then put a password on it, right? Well, that's essentially what these encryption viruses are doing, is just doing a normal function, taking a file, making it encrypted, putting a password on it. All they're doing one step further is then not giving you the password and not infecting or not removing the infection unless you pay a ransom. And so what we're doing is we're just making sure our backups are super solid, so that if somebody were to get infected with it, that we could just restore back before the encryption happened. I'll tell you, we had a lot of faith in Malwarebytes for a while. In 2018, they were reviewed really well against these kind of infections. And in 2019, they were not reviewed well at all. So within 1 year, we were, and we follow suit. We watch trends and what performs well, and the bad guys watch the same trend. So if there's one product that does a really good job, they just go after a different method of doing it and rendering that product not as effective. And it's just this cat and mouse game. So you might hear, we went for a while, we said Norton was a great antivirus, and it was at the time that we were recommending it. And next we were at Avast, and then next we were at Kaspersky, and next we were at Malwarebytes. And this wasn't a changing of, preferences on what we could make money on. We were doing reviews. Every January, we look at what's effective for that coming year and start finding what we're going to recommend to defend against those things that are going to happen. That's what we do. And when one of our products stops performing like it was, we change gears and start going towards another one. I'll never tell you, like, going back and saying, well, you had Norton and you're still on Norton, and I'm not going to change you for the sake of changing. If it's working out for you, that's awesome. I mean, I don't go and just do it for the sake of doing it. I do for the effectiveness of the product, and that's what I always recommend. So this person's question was, talk about total AV and secure VPN. All right. So again, what we do, and here's a big problem with doing antivirus reviews. You're depending on first of all, published reviews not being skewed by marketing, right? So I can go make a review page, and I could spend the money that makes it look like my product's great. So you have these individuals that write these reviews, and whoever pays them the most money gets reviewed the highest. And you don't want to go down that road, because you're not really getting an insight whether or not how the product's going to do for you. You're just shopping whoever was willing to spend the most in marketing dollars. And there's 100 of these sites that supposedly review antivirus. Now, what I'll do is Tom's Hardware is probably the most vanilla review site that I've ever seen. And they've never been real marketing or advertising heavy. So I think while I don't make them my exclusive place, I make them one of my tops to see what Tom's Hardware is saying and the reviewers over there are saying, because they're less biased, I think, than some of the other channels that you would look and get reviews from. So check out Tom's Hardware, not only just on software side, they also do, motherboards and processors and memory. And so if you're going to buy a computer, want to see what the techie people are saying about that, they give, these numeric reviews, and they assign metrics to it. They benchmark it and find out which one, how they how they do it, and when they pit it against other pieces of hardware. So anyway, we did that in the beginning of the year, and we felt that we weren't going to really change horses, even though Malwarebytes took a little bit of a dive on its effectiveness. So whereas when we recommended it was like 90% effective rate, it dropped to about 60% effective rate. but we were really happy with the footprint, the performance footprint that the software was playing. So what that means is when you just have a stock Windows machine, you're running at 100%, right? There's nothing getting in the way of internet traffic or local programs, or there's nothing going on. When you put an antivirus on there, the antivirus starts looking at traffic incoming and outgoing, which creates some latency, some distance between when you made the request and when you got a response. The more security you put down, the more latency you get, and it seems things slow down because that's what's happening. You're giving an antivirus first right to look at traffic before it gets to you or important system processes, which slows you down. So what you want to do is you want to throw a product at your computer that slows it down the least amount while extending the most amount of effectiveness. So I don't have to have 90% effectiveness on a computer that I'm doing, just regular stuff on, regular email stuff. Maybe I want the 90% one on where I'm going to websites that I don't go to, like I'm doing research and I have to visit sites that I don't necessarily know and trust. Maybe that one has 90%. That one's going to be slower, and I don't use that one unless I'm doing that kind of research. So to answer your question, I have not reviewed Total AV, and I never really take an option off of the table, but I'll have to, at the next set of breaks, I'll look it up and see how it's scored in relation to whatever. But in honesty, we used to talk about it almost every show about what you can do to defend against, because 95% of our business was people getting creamed by these viruses. Right? 10% of you are having problems with viruses now. So it's not your biggest concern anymore. So we can take our foot off of that security pedal just a little bit. I don't want to do too much because no matter what, I don't want you to be put in a compromising position, especially when there is still risk out there. It just so happens that it's not able to affect as many people. So, where any computer that I could walk up to used to have some kind of infection, I know when you had an infection, you were doing important stuff like putting your passwords in there, putting your credit cards in there, putting your social security numbers in there. You are participating on a computer that was infected. That scared the bejesus out of me because I knew that the potential of your information then getting scattered out to people who you wouldn't otherwise want your information for was pretty likely. Now I walk up to a computer and very few computers have anything that are the worst thing we see are advertisements. Because we really changed our language too, to rather than calling it malware, we called it adware, because they're really looking just to give you advertisements or, give you recommendations or spam you or, message spam you. That's the kind of stuff we're seeing. And I don't fear that quite as much as when people were trying to hack you and get your passwords and get in your bank accounts, and that kind of stuff. So that I've come down a couple of notches, and there might be in the future where we need to ramp it up. Now, let me give you the VPN talk, because this is a pretty big concern. 99% of us used to do most of our browsing on our home network. So you don't necessarily need a VPN when you're a home network. You know your router, your internet service provider, every piece of equipment that's fielding that request. Now, when you walk into a restaurant or a bar or a hotel or anybody that offers public Wi-Fi, do you know what you're connected to is really what you think you're connected to? It might not be the case, where I could go and take a router and I could call it, let me pick on somebody here. I'm gonna call it McDonald's, right? And I take my little router and I go into the parking lot and I call it McDonald's Wi-Fi. And now when you come into McDonald's, you see something that's broadcasting as McDonald's Wi-Fi, and you're like, oh, that's it. That's McDonald's Wi-Fi. It's open. I'm going to get on the internet. But that's not McDonald's Wi-Fi. That's just me sitting in the parking lot with a router that I called McDonald's Wi-Fi. And when you connect to me, guess what I could see? I could see every request, all the traffic. And if you happen to do something over my connection, there's a chance that I can grab whatever you're doing and I can snatch it out of the air. So most of the big hacks that we saw, Best Buy and Home Depot. Best Buy was a bad one because they had their point-of-sale terminals that were up front, and they had their other stuff that was out back, and they had wireless that was sending your transactions to the back computer. And so all that somebody did in that case was they took these unencrypted transactions, grabbed them out of the air, and they were harvesting down customer information. So that's how technically it works. So with VPN, if you end up getting on a network with me in the parking lot and you're on VPN, you're going to still use me to get to the internet. But when stuff goes through my little router sitting in the McDonald's parking lot, it's going to get scrambled. That's what encryption does. It takes legitimate transactions and it scrambles them. And on the other side, it unscrambles them. So when I grab it, when it goes through my router, guess what? It's been scrambled, and I can't do much with it because it's all encrypted. And so that's what the value of VPN is, whether you're running software on a computer that connects to a VPN or you're doing hardware VPN. But there are a ton of services that extend VPN service to people, especially travelers. When you're going to a network, you don't know where you're going. And even if it is owned by McDonald's, how do you know that they didn't set it up incorrectly? Or how do you know that you can even trust or extend your trust to their infrastructure? The answer is you don't. And, I had a guy a couple years ago stayed in a hotel, and like 30 minutes after he stayed in a hotel, his credit card was being used somewhere else. Well, why? Because when you get in a hotel, you're booking cars and you're logging back into your air, to claim your seats on the airplane. You're doing all this important stuff while you're on public Wi-Fi. So yes, very important that you at least have a go-to VPN. They have ExpressVPN. Norton has a VPN version. So pick a favorite, get used to it. You might not need it day to day. It's pretty inexpensive, maybe $10 a month or something like that. The hardware one is basically you pay for the hardware up front, and then it doesn't matter. It's not a monthly fee to extend to it. But just make sure you trust whoever's extending the VPN, because those dudes can see the traffic once it gets through to them. So don't pick somebody who's over in, a different continent that doesn't have customer service, because you have no idea. They might be scammers and they're just signing you up to harvest your information down. All right. 330-729-9977 is the phone number. You can also text me at 330-333-1570. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Hey there, Dan Rivers. We have a show every morning at 8:07. We're on till noon. We hope you can join us. But if you do happen to miss it, remember, you can hear the program on the podcast. Just search Dan Rivers, 570 WKBN.
Prescription products require an online physician consultation and are only available if the physician determines a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information.
Hey guys, good news. The outrageously expensive little blue pill is now generic, which means you can get the prescription medication to treat ED at affordable prices. And Hims makes it extra affordable. And right now, get your first online visit totally free when you go to 4hims.com/joy. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/joy. FORHIMS.com/joy.
Disgraceland, a true crime podcast about musicians getting away with murder and behaving very badly, is back with 2 new episodes on NWA. Stories on Madonna, Iggy Pop, Eminem, Whitney Houston, and more will be released on a mostly bi-weekly basis. Hosted by me, Jake Brennan. Disgraceland contains adult content and explicit language. iHeartRadio is #1 for podcasts, and it's easy to see why. Listen to Disgraceland on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer. This is your show where we talk about things that are happening in the tech field. Sometimes we go all sciencey and physicsy, and sometimes we're in the business realm, and we're pretty much whatever you need us to be to make you a more valuable user. We've been educators from the very onset. I mean, the first show that we did over 10 years ago, when we went on the Rivers program, there were a bunch of you out there in his audience that you've sworn off technology and there's no way you were going to touch it. And so we figured out a way to get you involved in it and give you a place to kind of come to that was you could be a little bit vulnerable and you knew you were coming there to get a little bit of education. And I swear to you, if you just stay around long enough, you can pick up on the language and the verbiage without feeling like it's coming down on you. I hate going into something new. And the feeling that you get is that everything around you makes you feel like an idiot, right? Because everybody who's good at it uses big words and they use concepts and they don't catch you up. They don't really slow down enough to give you a chance to get your feet wet. And the brilliant thing about technology is you really don't need a hand holder, but you need a sort of like a part to get started on. And thankfully, technology affects all of us. It affects music and media. It could be something to help you write a book. It could be doing research and learning how to do something on the web. You could do, fantasy and fiction as far as stories and movies. So pretty much it reaches pretty much every market. So if you're into something, you can get started in your wheelhouse. So you have sort of a little bit of an advantage because you know the analog version about what you're getting into on the digital. And then it's just a matter of translating how, a guy who was drawing up plans on a drafting table, all right, he's going to have done something a certain way. And then in the future, they don't have a drafting table anymore. They have a mouse and a great big monitor, and they have AutoCAD, and they're doing the same thing, like the same things going into it. They're designing a building that hasn't been built, and they need to give it dimensions so they could do, estimate materials and put plans together for building it, and then they use those plans to build it. It's the same apparatus, but it's just done with digital version of analog. And that's the most, you feel the most vulnerable is because you know it really well, it just in a different way, and you have people who know it different than you, and then there's this fight between the two. So all of you out there who consider yourself neophytes or just getting started, this is your place to just at first maybe just listen and find passive ways to get involved and ask your questions. And I'll always take your text messages and I'll read them. And it does not matter if they're simple or complicated questions. I always take them, and I know that if you asked it, there's 100 other people that want to know the same thing, but they're just not as brave as you to have asked the question. So I make sure that I answer the question not just for you, but for the other 99 people who want to know the answer to that question. And you're made smarter because of it, and then you're more enabled, and then maybe you feel a little bit like you want to go down to the electronics store and pick up something that you know nothing about and spend some of your time on the weekend and tinker with it. I've had people, this one guy, this old dude who, again, he would never touch a computer. He said he was swearing it off, never. And he messaged me 5 years later, and he was setting up a Sonos audio Wi-Fi speaker system around his house. Now, that's a pretty big, drastic change for a guy who didn't want anything to do with technology, and now he's able to play his music and TV off these Wi-Fi speakers, which means that he got Wi-Fi in his house, and he's probably got computers in his house, and he probably went way deeper than he ever gave himself credit for. And so that's what we had in mind when we started doing this: is taking those people who are swearing it off and giving them a space to not listen to them. I ignored you when you said you were swearing it off, and I still gave you a safe place to talk about it. And that's what we've been doing for, the last 10 years. And, we are not only practitioners, but we are teachers, and it just works really well. We give, when you bring technology to Youngstown, you keep the brains here. You keep the brain power here, because we're not just an analog city who makes fun of people. And I'll tell you this, that one of these things where, as we innovate, we sort of like poo-poo what's coming next as something that doesn't have any traction. When you bring technology on it and you have people that are looking forward instead of backward, we keep the young people, because even though you're like, hey, Ryan, no screen time for you. You know that Ryan is going to be in front of a screen for the rest of his productive professional life. And me kicking him off his screen because I think by today's standards, that, screen time is bad. He should be outside playing and developing skills that won't be there in 20 years. I mean, come on. That's more of my problem than his problem. But anyway, thanks to everybody for being out there. 330-729-9977. When we come back from this break, we're going to get, we have a guest we're going to bring on. We're going to do another business venture here in Youngstown, and one of the talents that's going to be coming into town for this is going to be on the line when we come back. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. We'll be back.
Feather for enthusiasts. Hear the fireworks exploding over the anniversary celebrations going on October the 3rd through the 6th at the Boardman and Rossford Finn locations. This is an event you won't want to miss. The Finn is featuring great deals, low prices in every department. They'll have great ammo deals like 124 grain, 7.62 by 9mm Cellular and Bellot, 20 rounds, $7.99. 115 grain, 9mm Luger Cellular and Bellot, 50 rounds, $7. Or Remington 40 grain, 22 LR Thunderbolt, 500 rounds, $13.99. Hurry into the Finn in Boardman and Rossford while supplies last.
On AM and thousands of devices, including Amazon Echo, Google Home, and Sonos. With our iHeartRadio app, 570 WKBN, Youngstown. It's 2 o'clock.
From ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo traveling in Greece, saying there was nothing wrong with President Trump on a phone call, asking Ukraine's leader to investigate Joe Biden and his son.
Nations work together and they say, boy, goodness gracious, if you can help me with X, we'll help you achieve Y. This is what partnerships do. It's win-win. It's better for each of us.
This as the White House says it will not cooperate with the request for documents related to Ukraine. With Democrats leading the impeachment effort, Republican members of Congress have mostly stayed in the background, except for two.
So far, only 2 Republican senators have broken ranks with the president. Senator Ben Sasse of Nebraska and Senator Mitt Romney of Utah. Romney called the president's behavior in relation to Ukraine appalling, but none of the other Republican senators has criticized the president. All of them, for now, biding their time, but facing some tough questions from constituents back home.
ABC's David Wright on Twitter today, President Trump calling Romney pompous, among other things. 4 homeless men found dead in New York City's Chinatown neighborhood. ABC's Sherry Preston in New York with more on what police are saying.
New York City police were called to Lower Manhattan by someone reporting an assault in progress. When they got to Chinatown, they found 1 man beaten to death, another critically injured. 3 more victims, all homeless and all dead, were found nearby.
The motive appears to be, right now, just random attacks. It doesn't seem that no one was targeted by race, age, anything of that nature.
Commanding Officer Michael Balisano says all the men were killed as they slept. The weapon used believed to have been a metal pipe. A 24-year-old man, also homeless, is in custody. Sherry Preston, ABC News, New York.
In Tampa, Florida, a woman is under arrest after her parents tipped off police that she was allegedly stockpiling an arsenal of weapons in her bedroom, including 24 pipe bombs. The woman is in custody. Sheriff's Department calls it frightening. You're listening to ABC News.
Here's what's happening. The former owner of Breaking Point Recovery Center in Austintown has pleaded guilty to several charges in a healthcare fraud case surrounding the center. Ryan Sheridan pled guilty yesterday in court. All 6 defendants in the case will be sentenced in January. 27-year-old Christopher Brown of North 4 Mile Road in Youngstown pleaded not guilty Thursday in Warren Municipal Court. He's in the Trumbull County Jail on charges of aggravated robbery. He's accused of robbing a 34-year-old Prior Place Northeast man back on September 25th. The victim said he was walking from the Warren Plaza along a trail when Brown and another man attacked him and took $200. A 25-year-old Youngstown man faces attempted murder and felonious assault charges after being indicted by a Mahoney County grand jury. The case against John Ferris III stems from a shooting in an SUV back in June. 2 separate fires are under investigation. Flames ripped through a home on Dearborn Street off Gypsy Lane on the city's north side. Crews got the call about 2:30 this morning. Several crews worked to contain the fire before the home collapsed. Crews also battled a fire at a vacant home on the east side on Craig Lee Avenue. The Eagle Joint Fire District Board approved putting a $1.5 million levy on the March 2020 primary ballot to fund part-time staffing. The 5-year levy would generate a little more than $310,000 and cost the owner of a $100,000 home about $4.38 a month. An Elwood City woman who already faces 7 criminal cases is in the Lawrence County Jail facing 2 more. The Lawrence County District Attorney's Drug Task Force arrested 23-year-old Taylor Foley of Skyline Drive Thursday. They seized handguns, suspected narcotics, and drug paraphernalia. The Vindicator edition of the Tribune Chronicle launched back on September 1st, and publisher Charles Jarvis on the Ron Verb Show said there's still some subscribers that are not getting their paper.
We're still struggling with a 15% total probably of people who were on routes probably that didn't have a carrier that transferred over.
He also says if you don't get your paper and call,
be patient. Call early in the morning or late in the afternoon. It's a better time to try to get through to us.
From the Power Chevrolet Buick GMC of Calcutta, Ohio newsroom, I'm Dave Price.
Need a furnace checkup? Call Mazza Heating and Cooling in Girard, your factory-authorized Bryant dealer.
Expect a seasonal Saturday with temperatures in the mid-60s and plenty of sunshine. Don't forget your sunglasses. Increasing clouds tonight. Not as cool. Low in the mid-50s. In the Storm Team 27 Weather Center, I'm Jim Lowboy.
We're here with Scott Jones from Youngstown Propane Fireplace and Patio. Scotty, fireplace season has arrived.
Yes, it has, and nobody has a bigger selection of custom-made vented and unvented fireplaces than we do, and nobody installs them better than us. We also have a great selection of outdoor fire pits and the best spas made today, Dimension 1 spas. Right now, you can enjoy sale prices on everything in the store. And if you heat your house with propane, call us for the best prices and service in town. Since 1981, we're Youngstown Propane Fireplace and Patio on Route 224 in Canfield.
Attention outdoor enthusiasts! Gander Outdoors is having a massive inventory reduction with every item at fall blowout pricing. Save 40% off the entire store. Hunting, fishing, camping, apparel, and more. It's all at fall blowout pricing. Everything is 40% off. Gander Outdoors' massive inventory reduction won't last long, and when these savings are gone, they're gone. Save 40% off everything at Gander Outdoors off Niles, Cortland Road in Warren today. Exclusions apply. See store for details. Offers expire 10/13/19.
Fairway Ford is the #1 volume Ford F-150 dealer in the entire region because we have over 400 F-150s available at rock bottom pricing. See us at fairwayfordohio.com or 330-533-FORD. Fairway, that's the way we do business.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer, and this is your Saturday show where we talk about things that are happening in tech. Switching gears a little bit from the whole science, techie segments from the last hour. As all of you know, I'm a huge cheerleader for the city of Youngstown. Also, part of that is, I have a company that I'm super interested in growing the culture for and taking our employees and finding what they do well, finding the genius that is buried everywhere around us and giving them, giving them the ability to do what they do well. So I have one guy in my stable, Nick. A lot of you have dealt with him on the Youngstown Computer side. He is he's really into the entertainment side. He loves music. He loves the presentation. And so what we're doing is we're developing sort of an entertainment wing of Youngstown Computer where we can do public events. And again, we can bring out some venues for the public to have the public to enjoy. At the same time, helping businesses like restaurants and those venues to fill people and get the patrons through the doors. And so we hatched this idea a couple months ago to give him the ability to do some more stuff in the entertainment field. And he said, what would be really great is if we had a date night out. We would go to some restaurants, we'd pitch it to them and bring a bunch of people out for a nice dinner out. And my wife and I used to do this where we used to go out every Thursday and we'd go pick a different restaurant and we'd enjoy some live music, but it was just great to be able to disconnect from regular life and go out there and just be her and I. And I think it was great for our relationship. And so I thought it was a great idea. And I thought, okay, well, let's do this. And we started putting together the package and we said, okay, well, we'll have the dinner do what it does best. So they'll just open the menu to the people who are coming through. You can order whatever you want. We're not going to get involved in that side. They got a lock on that. Then we'll provide the entertainment segment, and then Nick can get into his music and dancing and whatever for the final segment. So you got a nice 3-hour block that couples can go and just relax together and reconnect and have a little bit of fun. And so that's what we're on the the path to do. So while putting this together, there's an entertainer who was coming through town performing at the Funny Farm Comedy Club, and we were nice and blessed that he was able to join our event, and we have him on the line here, and we're going to get to know a little bit about Quinn Patterson. Quinn, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, man. Glad to be with you.
So you've been a comic. How long have you been doing this?
I've been doing it for 10 years now. I started with stand-up, and then I transferred over to improvisational theater. I worked for the Second City, which we used to have in Cleveland. Studied out of Chicago. Then they built a theater in Cleveland, which is no longer there. But with that closing, I went back to stand-up. So altogether, 10 years.
Okay, and you love it? Is it your thing?
What's that?
I said, is that you love it? Is it your thing?
Yes, that's my thing. Stand-up. I love it.
All right. So yeah, I mean, I thought, being on the road would be sort of a hard living to make, having to go, travel pretty much all the time. You find it difficult to be on the road every weekend?
Not really. When you're doing something that you love to do, it doesn't matter. I mean, it could be a little grueling at times, as far as being away from home. But once you get to your destination and you hit that stage and you see the people laughing and enjoying themselves, it's all worth it, man. So I'd say, no, I love it, man. I love it too much to say that it's a burden.
Yeah, I bet you it'd be a little bit of an aphrodisiac. It would get a little bit addicting. So tell me about the show coming up on that side. So you're going to be at the Funny Farm the same weekend. So you'll be with us on Friday, and then you'll be Funny Farm on Saturday? Hello, Quinn. Quinn, you still there? All right, we lost Quinn. Hopefully Quinn will give us a call back and we'll continue that. Dave, can you try to get him back on the line for me? Okay. So basically, we're this whole entertainment series. We're going to pick in the short term. We're going to do about once a month. The first one here is going to be over at Cafe 422 in Boardman. They're going to allow us to use the back section. This is going to be a couple. It's open to couples, and so if you want to bring your significant other and join us. For all 3 segments, an hour worth of dinner, an hour of entertainment, and then if you feel like doing some dancing, I know I'm not necessarily a go out there and dance kind of guy, but I love music. I mean, it's everything to me. So I'll be sitting back listening to the jams that Nick throws up there. He's really good at this part. And I love comics. I've been, when Funny Farm was over on Belmont, Deb and I used to go all the time. It's one of my favorite, things to do entertainment-wise. We saw, and what's cool is that when you hit small clubs, you get to see sort of the talent before they go on the national scene. So some people, you saw early on before they were on national scene, and then you see them come to fruition. So the comedy circuit is amazing to watch, and I hope that you will support us. You always do. And that you will get signed up. And if anybody wants to claim, I got a couple tickets here that I can give away. It's only $5 for our part. So if you want to show up and do 5 and go to Eventbrite, look for Date Night Out Youngstown. You can. Let me see this. Okay, all right. I'll send it to you again. So yeah, if you want to join us, you can either call me and claim a couple of the tickets, or you can go to Eventbrite and just purchase Youngstown. Date Night Youngstown over on Eventbrite. It's only $5. You get 3 hours worth of hanging out with us. So I'd appreciate that. So we're going to do these about every month. So if you have a spot that you'd like us to hit, a restaurant you'd like us to hit, feel free to recommend it. Recommend the place that has good food. I mean, we used to hit like probably 6 or 7 restaurants, and every Thursday we go to a different one. One had an acoustic guitar. So I'm going to need maybe a seafood place, and I'm going to also need to be able to hire some musical talent. And so somebody strumming on an acoustic guitar for a half hour during, that dinner segment, I think that would be amazing. The next thing that we've got going on is we contacted the Millennial Theater Group, and we've got a bunch of really great actors and actresses and producers here in Youngstown. And I'm starting to talk with them about 2 things. Number one, writing some material that would fit really nice in an hour block. So it's not going to be full 2 hours of theater. It's going to be a nice hour block of theater, but it's made for a venue like a restaurant type of deal. And then the second thing is these murder mysteries. Everybody loves these around the holidays. So we're going to try to get one of these scripts purchased and get one of our local theater groups to be able to perform the murder mystery. So basically what this is you're in a restaurant, you eat dinner, and then they have these different skits that they put on, and you as the person you have to figure out who did it. And so it's a competition. Your table's a group, and you get to go and interrogate the actors and actresses, and you follow the storyline, and you try to solve the mystery at the end. And so I thought that would be really cool to be put on one of these things. And then we created a game for that bar restaurant scene for Name That Tune. We used to do this, back at BW3s in I don't know, the early 2000s. It was amazing. It was fun to, team some strangers up and have them compete against, 80s, 90s, and 2000s songs for points and prizes and stuff. So we have all this stuff planned. Again, as the end is to give Nick and put him in his element, to have him do, what he loves to do. And so let's see if we can. I'm going to get the. Actually, let me get the text message read here. Hi, Joe. I have an original Surface tablet, unstable, going to set factory and smash. Should I save its solid state drive or just smash it? It's a bear. Inside the Microsoft Surfaces, they put this tar along the battery. It makes it really difficult to work with. So the chances that you're going to be able to get in there and harvest anything out is really slim anyhow. So if you want to, if you want to just hold it back and drill into it, that'd probably be your best bet. But it's going to be really difficult to tear the thing apart. I'd destroy it more than anything, or find somebody to recycle it, because, like I said, it's really difficult to get apart. Okay, let's see. Okay, so text messages are done, 330-729-9977. And again, if you have any talent out there that you want to recommend to me that would make a good candidate to do one of our entertainment segments, please get them in touch with me. Now, here's the ways that you can support us. One, obviously, you can show up the day, buy some tickets, and right at the door. You can go to Eventbrite and look for Date Night Out Youngstown, and you can purchase tickets that way. On Facebook, you can go to Facebook and look for Date Night Out Youngstown, and you can also purchase through there. Let's get Quinn back. Quinn, you still with me?
Yeah, I'm with you, Joe. How you doing, man?
All right, welcome back. Okay, so
Thank you.
we were talking, and last thing I asked was so going into this the weekend show. Tell us a little bit about the show that you put on.
Well, my comedy basically is going to be at the Funny Farm Comedy Club, which is Saturday coming up, and my comedy consists of life experience, improvisational things. It's like all over the place. So there's really no set skit that I do. You never know what you're going to get when you get with me. I mean, I'm just all over the place. So to kind of say I have something specific that I do is just kind of hard to say, because a lot of times I don't know until I hit the stage. So.
All right. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. I currently live in Lorain County now, but Cleveland is where I'm born and raised, man. That's where I started my comedy chops at, the Cleveland Improv downtown in the Flat.
That is
day, man. So
that is a famous place for comedy, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Drew Carey, Steve Harvey, just to name a couple. Arsenio Hall, just to name a few. So, and Quinn Patterson too.
So, are you a Browns fan?
I'm trying to be, man. I'm trying to be. I'm definitely excited for this year. Great defense. Baker Mayfield, young, hot prospect, so Odell Beckham. So we have the tools to do it. It's just a matter of us executing and getting it done. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a tragedy being a Browns fan, and I don't know if do you know the comic up there in Cleveland, Mike something? He's always in the.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about. Mike.
I know it.
Come on, what's Mike's last name? Yeah, he does the commentating, especially after the losses in front of the stadium.
Yes, he's become pretty famous over those
Mike Pope.
Yes,
Jr.
That's him. That's him. So yeah, he makes being a Cleveland fan a little bit funnier. So adding sort of like that comic relief, especially we're from the Rust Belt. The weather's terrible, so you have a bunch of people in the middle of winter that all they see is terrible weather, and then you have comics like you that get to change that for the better. You get to make people's lives better. So just a wonderful gift that you have, and I appreciate you agreeing to come to our show this next Friday, and I appreciate you being on the program and telling everybody about what to expect. So Quinn Patterson is actually traveling right now, so we're dependent on cellular connections as he goes across. He's in PA. So Quinn, thanks for being on the line with us, and we'll see you on Friday at 7:00 at Cafe 422 in Boardman. I expect people from Boardman, Poland, Canfield, Youngstown, anybody within earshot of this to do what you can to support these kind of venues, because they're only going to grow more numerous. Hopefully every week we'll be on the road helping support our local restaurants, getting you people out of the house and give you something to do where you can spend quality time with your significant other, also help the talent of this area to have a venue of performance. And again, so everybody gets to win here. The restaurant gets extra business. We get you out of the house connecting with your significant other. We have great entertainment and talent that we're able to throw out. And we can only do it if you, the listeners out there, support these shows and make sure that they are successful. And so this is the pilot one. Again, you can go to facebook.com, look for Youngstown Date Night or Date Night Out Youngstown. Eventbrite, Date Night Out Youngstown, or you can call our number 330-259-7278 and let us know that you want to purchase tickets. And I have a couple tickets during the program that if someone wants to claim them, feel free. So 330-729-9977 is the phone number. If you would like a couple of those tickets, we'll hold them at our office for you We're going to give 4 of them away. So call 330-729-9977 if you'd like those. And you can text us here at 333-1570. Okay. We were talking into last week about we were going to become a manufacturer of computers, right? We said that 2 years ago. And I want to tell you for the last 3 months, we have kicked it into overdrive. We have put, the afterburners on, and we're manufacturing and selling more of these computers than I ever thought we would. In fact, we can't build them fast enough. We don't have any in inventory right now. We have a couple that will be built early on in the week to satisfy orders that have already been placed, but we're probably 50 deep in our order book for new computers. And this is amazing. You guys, again, always come through. I don't want to buy computers that are manufactured in other countries, and I don't want to buy computers that are manufactured in other states. If we have really highly skilled people here in Youngstown, Ohio, that can be assemblers and manufacturers of these things. And you guys are making it happen, and I really appreciate it. I mean, there are cheaper ways, and you're allowing us to do what we do, and really appreciate it. All right, we're going to take a break, come back, take some more of your phone calls, 330-729-9977. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. We'll be back.
This Iranian nuclear... Cops' lives matter, too.
I'm sorry about that.
The biggest movement of people in Europe. If you're not scared, you will be.
Did you get all that?
Shut down.
Stay connected.
We are all connected.
News feeds. The War Machine on 570 WKDN.
When it comes to your identity and the personal information on your devices, there's no soundtrack to let you know you're in danger. Today's digital world is so connected, it just takes one weak link for criminals to get in. Good thing LifeLock includes the power of Norton Security. LifeLock uses proprietary technology to help detect threats like your personal info for sale on the dark web. And Norton Security helps protect up to 5 devices from ransomware and other online threats. Plus, if you have a problem, our agents will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or cybercrime or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but with LifeLock, we can help alert you to danger. Act now, and for a limited time, get 30% off your first year. Go to lifelock.com and enter promo code NEWS. That's promo code NEWS for 30% off. Offer expires October 6th, so don't wait. LifeLock with Norton. More detection, more protection.
Hey, it's Ron Verb for Nature Stone. Nature Stone is the only solution that will stand up to moisture, dampness, even flooding. The only solution when it comes to your basement. So if your basement is damp, dirty, not somewhere you want to spend time, turn it around with Nature Stone. Get Nature Stone installed in your home by the end of October. Get up to half off. Schedule your free in-home estimate online today at naturestone.com. Russ and Mike gave me a special deal for our listeners. If you buy today and get it installed in the month of October, you'll receive an additional $250 off. Book that free estimate now at naturestone.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer, talking about things that are happening in tech, and a bunch of questions about the Windows 10 upgrades that are underway right now. So what's happening is Microsoft, they have this end-of-life schedule that when a product reaches a certain date, then they give you plenty of warning ahead of time that they're going to start retiring older products. And this year lines up, or 2020, January 12th of 2020, starts lining up with the end of life of Windows 7. So I know a lot of you did not make the jump up to Windows 10, and you stayed with Windows 7. And so you have to now figure out whether or not you're going to do an upgrade and upgrade the same hardware and go to Windows 10, or you're going to just get a new machine and that already has Windows 10 on it. And so that's what we've been doing pretty much every day. We're evaluating a machine, looking at its age, looking at its specs, and seeing whether or not if it's a good candidate to be able to put Windows 10 on it or just replace it. And I would say it's about 75% replacements, 25% upgrades. And here's sort of how I've been making the decision whether or not it's good or not. So what I try to avoid is that you put a bunch of money into a machine, and then 6 months later, the machine dies. So let's just say your fans are making a bunch of noise already, or it's super slow, or there's lots of other things that are wrong with the machine. If I walk up to a computer and it's running well, it's nice and clean, it sounds good, and it's within 5 years, newer than 5 years, that becomes a pretty good candidate. Now, if it's got a dual core processor, if you bought on the value side of things when you purchased it 5 years ago, then that's a notch against it. If you bought ahead a little bit, then that's a little bit for it. So every machine sort of gets its own lens, and making sure that if I were sitting in front of it saying, okay, well, number one, I have to put the service time into it regardless. I have to reinstall my applications. If I have to install my applications, if I'm reloading it or getting a new computer, I have to just upgrade it if I'm upgrading it. So you save a little bit of total service time by being able to just make Windows 7 into Windows 10. But you have to back things up first. So it's about the same time that you spend, maybe a little less when you upgrade it than when you just replace it. But you're still on a computer that's as old as your computer was. So every year beyond that 5 years, I get a little less percentage if I would actually put the money into that machine. It'd be way better to put it into a new machine. Because I can even go back 3 years. And the different iterations of the Intel processor have come so far that if it were me, if I have a 50 or a 5000 series Intel processor versus a current generation is 9,000 or 10,000, stark difference, huge differences in performance on the processor side. So I'm probably going to put the same amount of money into something, replacing it rather than doing it. Now, if you bought ahead, the processor's in amazing shape, it's clean, then it's a really good candidate. Now, another thing that comes into play too is sort of areas or environments that are sort of sacrificial. And so if there's you have something out in a shop where it's just getting dirty and it's exposed to the elements, I don't really want to put a new computer in that elements because chances are it's more brutal on that. I would prefer to put the operating system on something and not, have the least amount of money involved in something that is in a high risk type of environment. So that's with your home computers. If you're happy about the performance and speed, chances are, and if it's less than 5 years old, you're going to want to just get an upgrade. And the upgrades cost between $150 to $175 for the operating system. And basically, you just run it as you back it up first, back up to an external drive, and then run the installer over top of Windows 7, and it will upgrade it. The wizards will pretty much take you through everything. So just be very careful to do a backup before you attempt an in-place upgrade from Windows 7 to Windows 10. So that was a bulk of the questions, whether or not you should, pricing-wise. Again, we're manufacturing computers where we got about an order book about 50, and we sold through everything as of last week. We're building some more coming into the next week, so we'll have inventory coming up. So and we have till January to do this. So if you want to get put into the order book, and we'll get to you by January, I assure you, call the office 330-259-7278. Leave word that you would like to purchase one of these YC builds, and we'll make sure that we get one of these i5s. Now, it's right down the middle of the road, right? We use the best components that we can right down the middle of the road. So when I say middle of the road, new equipment sort of has that research and development cost still attached to it, where a processor that should cost about $160 ends up costing like $260 because they're still harvesting research dollars back out of it. And when it hits that sweet spot where that's the proper price for the processor, that's the one that we're in. So every release, they release a new processor, we're moving up to the next one that was released before. So we're not paying the premium to get the newest and greatest and latest because you're not getting as much value for that. We're loading it up with memory, 16 gigs of memory. The hard drives, you have a choice between a 500 gig solid state drive and a 1 terabyte solid state drive. Our 500 gig model is $950. Our solid state version of that is just over $1,000. And again, you're going to get the desktop, you're going to get the keyboard and mouse, you'll get all of the equipment that goes along with this. So we appreciate everybody that's out there that has purchased these. You guys have come in spades, and I really appreciate the support. So 330-729-9977 is the phone number at the station here. You can text me at 330-333-1570. And when we come back, I want to tell you a little bit. We lost Quinn's call, and I want to give you all the details about Quinn performing at the Funny Farm Country Club. Make sure that you go support him over there. So you're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Homeowners love their Pella windows and doors, and we love how happy we made Marianne from Lakewood.
The doors are beautiful. They move with the touch of a finger. I'm very, very happy with them. I think they're beautiful.
Can we install some happiness for you? Right now, get 50% off installation or 0% financing for 72 months. 877-98-PELLA. PellaYoungstown.com.
Here's some of the stories we're working on today. The former owner of Breaking Point Recovery Center in Austintown has pleaded guilty to charges in a healthcare fraud case. 27-year-old Christopher Brown of North 4 Mile Run Road pleaded not guilty Thursday at Warren Municipal Court on charges of aggravated robbery. A 25-year-old Youngstown man faces attempted murder and felonious assault charges after being indicted by a Mahoning County grand jury. 2 separate house fires are under investigation today, one on Dearborn Street off Gypsy Lane, the other one on the east side on Craigley Avenue. A former Hermitage doctor convicted of molesting 2 young boys failed to show up yesterday for his sentencing hearing. About 1,800 people were without power last night after a tree fell on lines in the area of Glenwood Avenue and Southwoods. And publisher Charles Jarvis of the Tribune Chronicle and the Vindicator edition says there's still some bumps in the road with delivery. More on these stories coming up at the top of the hour. From the Power Chevrolet Buick GMC of Calcutta, Ohio newsroom, I'm Dave Price.
From the O'Charley's Digital Studios, $9.99 menu, 9 great meals, 1 great price. O'Charley's. Authorized Bryant dealer. Now, the Storm Team 27 forecast.
Expect a seasonal Saturday with temperatures in the mid-60s and plenty of sunshine. Don't forget your sunglasses. Increasing clouds tonight. Not as cool. Low in the mid-50s in the Storm Team 27 Weather Center. I'm Jim Lowboy.
Hey, gang. Dan Rivers for Window Nation. Mother Nature has a little warning for you. I happen to have it. When the leaves start changing, you should think about changing the old windows in your home. Window Nation can help you get ready for the colder weather right now. Here's a great offer, folks. Protect your home from the elements. Easy fall savings right now. Get 2 when you buy 2. That's right. Wood or vinyl, buy 4, get 4. No limit. 0% interest for 18 months. No interest until 2021. 80,000 customers have chosen Window Nation to protect their home from the nature, the elements. Trust me, I know Window Nation. Great company. Efficient windows make a difference in your home. Comfort and heating bills. Call 866-90-NATION. 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 Buy 2, get 2. Buy 4, get 4. That's how it works. WindowNation.com. Tell them Dan Rivers sent you.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I shopped the many highly rated term life insurance companies we represent, like Prudential and Mutual of Omaha, and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $27 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-589-5599. That's 800-589-5599. 800-589-5599. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer. This is your Saturday show. Talk about things that are happening in tech. We leave the phone lines open for you all program long. So if you have anything to contribute, please do so. 330-729-9977. Or you can text me at 333-1570. Let me give you a little bit of complaint as far as where we're at on this part. I've talked about this before about how we are buying, storing, and playing our media. Okay, so we have some contenders, some people that want you to buy all of your libraries from them. So we have Apple, and we have Amazon. Now we have Google, and we have one more. Anyways, those are the big three. So you got some of your library that's on Apple's ecosystem. You got Amazon Prime, you got some that's over there, and then you've got Google Play, where you've got some locked over there. Now, when you're buying your technology, you're buying it for the ease of playing the material that you do. So let's just say your TV is a smart TV, and you can go through the internet, you can plug it into your LAN, or you can connect it Wi-Fi, and you can download, you can go to Hulu and you can stream. You can go to Sling TV and you can stream. You can go to Netflix and you can stream. You can go to YouTube TV and you can stream. And that's all fine and good, right? But when it comes to stuff that you purchase, now you're dependent on splintered ecosystems. So I have one TV that has 3 devices plugged into it. I have a Chromecast, I have a Fire Stick, and I have an Apple TV. Do you know why I have these 3 devices plugged into one thing? It's so that if I'm in my room and I want to watch a movie on the Apple TV, I go to input 1. And if I want to watch something on Google Play or the Fire Stick or Amazon Prime, then I go to the Fire Stick that's on input number 2. And then if I just have something on my phone that I want to play, you know how many times you say, hey, I got this video, and you hand someone your phone, right? And they watch a video on your phone. Nobody wants to do that. So when I have a video that I want my wife to see or my kid to see, I turn on input 3, which is the Chromecast, and I turn on YouTube or whatever the video is. There's a little icon in the top right-hand corner comes up. And I'm going to call it AirPlay, but each one of these people are calling it something different. But it's a way to send content from your phone, send it to the TV, and in Chromecast case, it actually hands off the connection and then it takes your phone out of play. So the content begins streaming to the device and not like through your phone, and then the image is just playing through the device. Like Apple stuff, you can actually see the phone and do mirroring so that you see the device on your TV. It's not quite the same thing. So this is my complaint, is because we're clearly not picking a standard, and we're clearly we're clearly making it all proprietary so that we're not integrated, where we're going to get stuck in the same mess that we get stuck in when the Microsoft Zune came out and the iPod came out, where if you've got how many people had tons of songs and devices that don't even exist anymore. It's tough to trust technology when there's going to be a winner and a loser. That someone's going to stop selling media at a certain point if they don't have enough business, because somebody inevitably is going to win that battle. You've even watched it with Amazon Prime and Apple stuff compete a little bit, where Apple stuff was like a little bit more expensive, and then Prime came in and started lowering prices and like $3 a movie instead of $6 a movie, and then Apple brought their prices down a little bit, so you had a little competition in play at last. And that was good. We all, as consumers, we like that because prices are driven down and innovation ends up sparking out of it. But at the same time, who's going to win this battle? And how many devices are we going to include? So here's what I'm suggesting, is that we somehow standardize the equipment that we purchase, so that instead of it being, these matches between opposing companies where you buy one device and it's not going to have YouTube on it because they're allied with the other company, and vice versa. You can't get a device that has everything on it because there's these gripes or these wars that are going on between companies. So that's one thing. Let's get it standardized. We're going to hammer it out that when you release a device, let's make the protocols or the services or the applications standard where they're available on all devices, and not allow one to be excluded for that sake. So I don't know if that even can be done. I don't even know if that's safe to be done when it comes to the marketplace, but it's a pain in the butt from the consumer standpoint to have 3 devices plugged in, when technically I'm only on the other devices getting one app that's not available on the other one. So I had these Fire Sticks that I was using for the longest time, and they had everything. They had Hulu, they had Sling, they had YouTube, and then all of a sudden YouTube disappeared. So then I had to get the other device so that I could watch YouTube stuff on there. And again, now I'm at 3 different devices that are plugged in. And it's nice for me because I get to evaluate all of them on a regular basis, so I know how to speak about them. But for you, how many pieces of technology? I just got to work the other day and I had this Chrome box that said, hey, this is the last revision for your equipment. Now it's time to replace it. So what replacement cycle are we going to be in with Fire Sticks and Apple TVs and whatnot, where they're going to, on purpose, do end of life on those as well? And then we got 3 devices to replace on a regular basis, multiplied by how many TVs that we have around our house, and it gets to be a little bit much. So that's my gripe for today, is that we need to standardize some of this stuff and make services available. At least have a device that has all of the services available, so it doesn't require consumers having to go and get proprietary content. And I know a lot of you who listen to the program for a while say, Joe, this is kind of what you asked for. You were mad that the cable companies had a lock on programming and they had everything, and then you fractured it out there and made it so that people could pick through it, and now people are staking allies and shopping contracts, and this group is getting these networks and that group. That's what you asked for, didn't you? And I'm like, yeah, but now I'm complaining in the other direction, where it's harder for the consumer to keep track of it. And if we're not careful, if we create all that confusion, there's going to be somebody saying, okay, well, in the short term, I wanted to see if I could do it. But if it means that I can't watch football because then I've got 3 devices that I've got to shop and the technology's smarter than me, what's the chance of that person pulling the plug and saying, I'm going back to cable because it's just easier? And I don't want to lose to easier. I want people to be dynamic and I want people to have choice. But all of this fragmentation makes it difficult for especially laymen to be able to get what they need without saying, hey, let's watch the baseball game. You ever watch someone fumble through and see if they can get the baseball game when they have no clue what service they're going to go to get it, because they don't know which one's going to offer a local Fox station or whatever. But if we're truly going to purchase content through our phones and tablets, where I know that I can I'm really good at finding content on my phone, and if I could just send it from my phone to my TV and not having all of this extra tech built into the TV, just make it be a big monitor, right? So maybe the Chromecast is the thing that wins. You plug it in, and then your phone just dumps off content when you're ready to watch something instead of it being able to do it. I think TVs get a little bit cheaper too, because it's basically a big monitor that knows how to connect to smaller devices like phones and tablets. And that way, that's part of this protocol that changes, because then you're not skimming around with a remote control. Your phone is your remote control, and you just bring up whatever your Hulu or your Netflix or whatever you have on your phone that you're comfortable with finding, and then you hit the little dot in the side that says, send this to my screen, and the communication between your device and your monitor is not proprietary. It's uniform across all devices. They agree that there's some kind of casting standard that no matter what shows up on your computer, I mean, and it's going to require a service like YouTube to be able to front end it, right? Make it standardized, and then get everybody else on board that they're standardized as well. So you're in the YouTube program, right? You have a little icon at the top right that casts it. When you're in Facebook, you have an icon that casts it. When you're in watching a movie, you have the icon that casts it. So it has to be in every application. It has to be across the board, so that if you're watching something in front of you, whether it be a movie on Facebook, or a video on Facebook, or a movie on Amazon Prime, or a YouTube video, or anything, that you can send it off to your displays. And I think that's how we master this and get rid of or stop selling all of these smaller devices that make it too complicated for people who are just getting started, or just don't feel like having 19 remotes around us. Remember those days when you had home theater and you had this remote that controls this and that remote that controls this, and again, watching the guy fumble around trying to get a movie on because it's so complicated. But just do not want to return to that when things can be so super simple. So I spent some of my morning working with audio. And I'm just under this impression that with all of these speakers, these wireless speakers that we're moving around our house, like I have one in my kitchen, I have one in my bedroom, and I think I play music through them, and it's pretty easy, say, hey, Alexa, play this, and it starts playing it. But I think also when I'm doing things in multiple rooms that I should be able to take the same musical content and send it out to all of my speakers. So my house pretty much connects all of my wireless devices, and I can uniformly be able to send my audio output to all the speakers that are in my house. I worked on it to see how close we were to doing that. Now, I would say we're about 10% to that. So if you have, let's just say you have the Google devices. Okay, so you have Google Home. Google Home, you can add the devices that you can broadcast to, and you can use those speakers when you're playing music content. So I think there's 6 different. iHeart's one of them, actually. So if you took the iHeart app and you started playing the show, you can select all of the devices, and all the compatible wireless speaker devices would come up on your list, and you can output the iHeart programming to all of the speakers at the same time. So if you're having a house party, or you're doing sports and or whatnot, I'd like to be able to have centralized control over media on a device, and then be able to send that to any device. And that one way that you're going to do that is to make all of those receiving devices like the computer or the TV screens and the speakers dumber and put more of the effort or more of the technology inside the devices so that they, like I said, similar protocols. More of the heavy lifting is done on the device, more of the libraries are done on the device, and then your speakers are just a receiving mechanism and your monitors are just a receiving mechanism. But as long as every device can do its own thing, that's the fragmentation that's going to keep things nice and confusing. So 330-729-9977, or you can text me at 333-1570. Let's go to Mary. Mary, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Hello. About a month ago, my computer was running really slow, and I wasn't able to get online or use any of my apps. I took it to get repaired, and I was told that it wasn't the computer, but that it was the router that wasn't working, and I was advised to reset the router. Well, I came home, reset the router, everything was fine, working well. About a week and a half ago, it happened again. My computer was running really slow. I wasn't able to get online. I wasn't able to use any apps, so I reset the router. Nothing worked. My router was about 3 years old or so I thought, well, maybe the router was worn out. So I got a new router. I still can't get online. I didn't know, might this be maybe not a router problem, but it might be a modem problem?
Yeah, it sure could. And who's your provider? Who sells you internet service?
I went through one of the cable channels, one of the cable.
Okay, so Zoom Internet or something like that. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do is they can actually log into your modem and they can enable some logging that allows them to see the performance, the signal strength, and the bandwidth. So they, without having to come there, can at least see if it looks like that there's a problem. When neighborhoods change and you get homes added and you get subscribers changed, sometimes signals end up getting changed. Like they might have too much signal and then the modem starts disconnecting, or not enough signal and it starts disconnecting. So that's always the first stop, to make sure that the modem is getting a good signal. Second stop is going to be then router. About every 4 or 5 years, you replace your router because the software, gets corrupted, gets slowed down, and just doesn't keep up with modern technology. And sometimes even those routers, they get inundated and overwhelmed by having too many devices. So it might be you've got 30 devices. The router that you have might be built for 5 devices. So it might be you have the wrong router at the same time. But I always start with the service end and make sure that your modem's performing before you go further than that.
Okay, and I like I said, I think I told you, I did buy a new router, and I connected that just like the other one was connected, and that didn't seem to do the trick. Also, a neighbor came over with his laptop. It worked fine at his home, did not work well in mine. So I knew it had to be either the router or probably the modem. So, well, I will check then with my provider. I had gone through Spectrum. I will call them and see if they could help me then.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you so much for the information. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for being out there. Thank you for the phone call. And, equipment-wise, too, sometimes you'll get equipment that you'll have connected to your a coaxial cable and in your house, and that might be a little bit old as well. But those techs can log into it and see if it's not keeping up, if it's rebooting, if the signal strength is wrong. They can really evaluate that out well, even before they send somebody out there. But if it's been a while, if you haven't had the modem replaced in a while, chances are they're going to send out some new equipment, and that should take care of it. We see that an awful lot. I would say of all of the ones, the Aris modems, I'm really getting to like Aris, the brand. They seem to just last forever. I think they have a simple version of a modem, and because it's not complicated, it just seems to work. And that's really what we need. Here's something too about modems and from Spectrum especially. It used to be when you said, "Hey, I have my own router," they would drop off a modem that would connect into your router, and then you'd be fine, right? But the equipment that they started dropping off wasn't really interested in just being a modem. They were dropping off routers that had access points to it, so they were pretty complicated things. And then so we see a lot of environments where you'd plug your router into their router, and then you just have a router inside of a router and have lots of complication. Some of their equipment require, especially on the high-speed wireless side, it requires bandwidth or connection between the access point that'll support the high-speed wireless. And so they talked a bunch of people into having this modem/routers installed with this little tower that looks like an access or little tower access point. And it's really tough to get those technicians to install anything different. So if you're in that deal where you're getting an installation and they drop off the whole modem in the little tower, I would not put your router on the inside of that router unless you can talk them into putting it in bridge mode, which again they're gonna try to disagree with you pretty well at that because of the speed difference on it. But if they drop off that equipment and it's already a router, I would plug your stuff, your switch into that. And if you don't have a switch, that's what you're going to need to do. I would not do this whole router inside of a router thing just because of the latency that it creates. We just see that practice over and over again. Where technically it works, it's not going to perform well because you're technically every request has to go from your router to their router and then from their router out to the outside WAN network, which that's just an extra step. And where, when you get lots of bandwidth there, it can create some complications, and you'll never get inward traffic to come through two routers. I mean, you don't have enough control to pull that off. So if you got security cameras and you do port forwarding, it's just not going to work with a router within a router. So be aware of that. That's pretty common. We see that quite a bit. So Mary, thanks for the phone call. Appreciate it. So we're going to take a break, and I want to give a shout out to Quinn Patterson when we get back. I'll tell you a little bit about his show and then our show coming up on Friday where Quinn will be joining us. I'll give you the details. So if you didn't hear that, I'll give you a quick rundown when we come back from this break. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Hey there, Dan Rivers. We have a show every morning at 8:07. We're on till noon. We hope you can join us. But if you do happen to miss it, remember, you can hear the program on the podcast. Just search Dan Rivers, 570 WKBN.
Quiet, convenient, affordable. Westchester Square Apartments offer rental properties to fit every need and budget. Perfectly situated in Austintown, right next to Route 11. With luxury living close by at Westchester Executive Apartments. Even Westchester Commons, the perfect independent senior living facility. Be a good neighbor in a community of good neighbors. Westchester Square, Westchester Executive Apartments, and Westchester Commons. Find out more now at waldenmanagement.com.
Tired for no reason? Muscle weakness or high blood pressure? The cause can be as simple as a vitamin D deficiency. People in Northeast Ohio and Western PA don't make enough vitamin D, and it affects their health. Listen this Sunday morning at 7 a.m. for more information. That's Sunday at 7 a.m.
A new podcast from iHeartRadio, Bear and a Banjo. I'm Dr. Q, and I've spent the last 30 years tracking down Bear and Banjo, the two most important musicians of the 20th century. Podcast narrated by Dennis Quaid, featuring new music produced by T-Bone Burnett, with a new song featuring original lyrics by Bob Dylan. Find Bear and a Banjo on the iHeartRadio app.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. Wanted to mention about the entertainment venues that we're going to be putting on here around Youngstown. If you want to get involved, this is basically a date night out. And whereas our family used to do it, just us, we're going to put this on so that we can inspire some of you to get out there and support our restaurants, support us as the entertainment vendor, and the entertainers who will follow us around. We're going to put on everything from theater to acoustic guitar. And in this week, we have two comics that are going to be joining us for our entertainment segment. So this week's going to be at Cafe 422 in Boardman. This is going to be Friday at 7 o'clock till 10 o'clock. And so all you have to do is come out to us. You'll get first crack at the menu. You can eat whatever you want there. It's between you and the restaurant. They do what they do. You shop how you want to shop. And then once dinner's done, we'll begin with our comic segment where we have two comics that are going to be showing up and entertaining you for the next hour. And after that, then Nick's going to get the music kicking and give you a chance to sit back and listen to some music or even dance if that's what you'd like. So make sure that you call our office, 330-259-7278. Let me know if you need any tickets. It's only $5 for this. We're keeping it nice and the price down so that make sure that anybody who wants to come out has no reason not to. So we'd appreciate your support. You can also go to eventbrite.com, type in Date Night Out Youngstown, and buy the tickets that way. Or you can go to Facebook, look for Date Night Out Youngstown, and the event is posted there. Make sure you reserve your spot. And if anybody wants to claim it, go ahead and email me, joe@youngstowncomputer.com, and I'll be sure to get those 4 giveaway tickets off to you if you need them. And Quinn Patterson joined us early on the program. He's going to be visiting us on the Friday before, and then he's going to be at the Funny Farm Comedy Club the next day. So if you're interested in seeing his full show at Funny Farm, make sure you can go to Eventbrite, type in Quinn Patterson, and you can buy tickets to the show through Eventbrite as well, or you can call Funny Farm Comedy Club and do it that way. We always, and again, any event that comes downtown Youngstown, any event that comes to our area, make sure that we give our full support and keep these shows coming, because you'll get a constant supply of talent downtown as long as we show up when we're asked to. And again, I have no doubt that this audience and the social media audience, everybody who supports the station will come through for our show. So again, 330-259-7278 if you want to register for the date night out with Youngstown. We'll announce, I think on Monday, we'll announce the second comic. She was actually a America's Got Talent star, and I don't know if I don't even know if it's aired yet, but I saw pictures circulating around with her being doing her comedy on America's Got Talent. So we'll be sure to make sure that we let you know about her. She's going to go on the first segment and then followed by Quinn Patterson. Okay. And then, again, we have the Millennial Theater Company who we're in talks with right now to write up some content to do some theater at these things. So theater lovers, we're going to do a nice segment that fits beautifully. I was thinking about, you know how like in schools they'll take some popular theater like, Shakespeare, and then they'll do a smaller version of it. They'll take some liberties to cut out some parts of it and do an abridged version of it. And I was thinking about maybe doing that, where taking a play and shrinking it down. Like I do Blink's audiobooks, where they take a full audiobook that's 13 hours and they do it a 15-minute version, giving you all the most important parts. And I think, doing that would, we're all familiar with the stories, so maybe we write something specifically for this venue. And I think that'll be a little bit more fun, give some of these people who are good writers and producers and actors a chance to, do what they do well. So hopefully they'll have a lot of fun with it. And then in the heat of the holiday seasons, we're going to try to pull off a murder mystery dinner. We're going to do the same thing, go to a restaurant. We're going to control the whole thing. So while you eat dinner, there's a whole murder to be solved as well. So this is going to get fun. And again, we're going to try to include as many locals as we possibly can, keep the talent flowing, keep the venues flowing, give you guys a great reason to get out there and support, in person, not just sitting behind a keyboard, but in person, support our great venues, entertainers, and also restaurants. So same thing goes with retail. Do what you can to buy local. That's always been our thing here. And so anyway, I appreciate everyone who's helped out with this. It's been a sort of because it's one of our guys and it's something he's passionate about. I want it to work for him because he's going to love coming to work every day and doing what he loves. And then that's really our goal with everyone is we might do computers, but very few of us that's what we were born to do. And maybe that funds us 99% of the time, but that 1%, if we can give that option to have someone really in their vein of passion, I mean, that's really what it's worth it. It's all about. So it's very worth it to our end. All right. Great show, everybody. Thanks for the phone calls. Appreciate it. And hope you'll give our office a call and get registered for that event, 330-259-7278. We will see you next week. You've now listened to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN.